You know how height can often be very advantageous when it comes to basketball, right? I mean, we could remember how the likes of Dirk Nowitzki and Shaquille O'Neal completely wreaked havoc in the league with their incredible physiques. Even the current NBA sensation and Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, stands at a whopping 7'4". But then, have you ever stopped to wonder at what point height stops being an advantage and starts doing the complete opposite? Well, here's Abiodun Adegoke, popularly known as Big Naija, a typical giant of a baller who dreams of one day making his mark in the world's most prestigious basketball league. And if he does eventually get drafted, he'd be walking straight into the history books as the tallest player to ever play in the NBA. However, word on the street is that he may never make it to the NBA, and it may just be because of his unbelievable height. So who is Abiodun Adegoke? How tall is this giant, really? And how did he get too big for the NBA? Well, come along, folks, as we take a quick peek into the life of Big Naija, the big man with even bigger dreams. But first, kindly take a second to leave a like and subscribe to this channel to help us grow. This will make a huge difference to us, and in doing so, we can continue creating more new and exciting content for you guys. Done that? Great. Now let's get this ball bouncing. Of course, Big Naija has since developed a significant Instagram personality thanks to his gigantic physique and, of course, his basketball abilities. He even drew worldwide attention back in 2021 when a video of him dunking on Shaquille O'Neal broke the internet. Everybody was eager to know who this behemoth of a basketballer was, but then no one seemed to know almost enough about him. So, who is this big giant really, and where did he come from? Well, for a start, Abiodun Adegoke is Nigerian, as you may have already figured out from his nickname, Big Naija. He hails from the southwestern part of the country and had already been a pretty popular figure from a young age because of his extraordinary height. Get this. In his early teenage years, the young lad was already measuring over 6'8". Unbelievable, right? Well, hang on, folks, because it's about to get even crazier. You see, reports have it that he was so tall that he couldn't even stand upright in his own house. And that's the reason for his slightly hunched statue. Now, like many other giants before him, Abiodun decided to take advantage of his ridiculous height and take a shot at the beautiful game of basketball. Of course, he had an instant advantage playing amateur basketball, as he was almost 3 times the height of the other kids. But then, he had a problem. Several even, if we're being thorough. However, the most significant was the fact that he often played barefoot because he really couldn't find a pair of shoes to fit his extra-large feet. Yeah, I know, right? As he became older though, he enrolled at the Segun Odegbami Sports Academy in Ogun State, Nigeria, where he was still pretty much a spectacle to behold. However, just when his fame was beginning to grow, he vanished, and no one could really tell where he was until he resurfaced again, this time in the Middle East. Yeah, he would be found after a while plying his trade in Dubai, in the MPAC Elite Youth League. Oh, and he also added a few inches to become arguably the tallest amateur basketballer ever at a jaw-dropping 7'11". Imagine a player that makes a whole Big Shaq look small. Yeah, that's Big Naija for you. And in case you're wondering, that meant he could dunk with both feet firmly planted on the ground. Now, how unbelievable is that? But then, you might also wonder why he's not already bulldozing his way to the NBA with such obvious advantages, right? Or could it be that he's just tall, but isn't any good when it comes to actually playing the game? Of course, as we have come to discover, height alone isn't nearly enough to get you to the NBA, or see you shine for that matter. But then again, there's absolutely no denying the fact that a little bit of extra height can prove way too significant on the court. Now picture this, a 7'11" player with an equally outrageous wingspan standing between you and the basket. Well, simply put, there goes your chance of scoring any points all night long. It doesn't matter if you're attempting 3-pointers or running to the rim to score a lay-in, players like Adegoke can easily shut you out all game without even doing too much. But of course, it doesn't end with the defending alone. The obvious advantage also extends to their attacking, and it's easy to see why. I mean, how do you stop a player who doesn't need jumping to dunk from scoring? Once the ball is high up in the air anywhere around the big man, there's no point even contending for it. Oh, and we already know who's winning all the offensive and defensive rebounds all night long. But then, as unbelievable as these advantages may sound, we also know of the setbacks extra tall players have to face, and Adegoke is not immune to them. First of all, his speed leaves little to be desired, as it often takes him a few extra seconds to get up and down the court. Next, the fact that he's not as mobile as other players means he'd struggle to defend 1v1. He also lacks the quickness to dribble past opponents while on the attack, essentially making him only good enough around the rim. Next, we have to factor in the issue of fatigue and injuries that are almost inevitable with players who've passed the 7'7" mark. Well, yeah, all players carry the risk of getting injured at some point in their careers. However, such risks are often amplified for taller players who already have the unbalanced weight of their bodies to contend with. They also get fatigued much quicker, and on the grand scheme, taller players tend to have much shorter careers, while some even end up without ever making it to the NBA. I mean, we've certainly seen this trend with certain other 7-footers before Adegoke. Remember when 17-year-old Robert Bobrovsky went viral for being an astonishing 7'7" teenager? Like Adegoke, Rob also dreamt of featuring in the NBA, but his dreams were ultimately thwarted by his lack of physicality, endurance, and a persistent back injury. We also saw the emergence of 7'9" Sun Mingming, an actor turned basketballer, and the then Guinness World Record tallest pro basketballer. Mingming dreamt of playing in the NBA like his countryman, Yao Ming, but despite playing in various American amateur-level basketball leagues, he couldn't make it to the NBA due to his lack of skills and mobility. Of course, the 7'9" giant would later return to his home country, where he had a pretty successful basketball career. But then, his dreams of playing in the NBA never materialized. Anyways, we've also seen a handful of giants bulldoze their way into the NBA. The likes of 7'6" Yao Ming and 7'7" Romanian Gheorghe Muresan, who is still the tallest player to ever play in the NBA, come to mind. But you've got to admit that these players were slightly more skillful and moved more efficiently for their height. Abiodun, on the other hand, displays a little bit of skill with his goal-scoring prowess. His around-the-rim finishing is good, and he is also growing to be a solid blocker on the defense. However, he may not be as mobile as the ever-so-competitive NBA demands. The giant Nigerian also doesn't seem to have a solid basketball background, and that can prove to be a big problem. But then, the bigger problem for Adegoke may well be his age saga, which has dragged on for some time now. You see, while the young man claimed to be a teenager back in 2021, a conflicting report revealed that he was already somewhere around 21 years old. Now when you fit all these factors together, you'll see why it remains somewhat unlikely that Adegoke will ever make his mark in the NBA. But then, Big Naija has come out to say he's putting in the work and steadily working to achieve his one true goal, to play in the NBA. In a statement released on Instagram, Adegoke was quoted saying, "I'm going to keep working. None of them know my story. None of them know where I come from or what it took to get here. I'm riding with my people. Time will tell." Indeed, only time can tell. So, we'll just have to watch and see what the future holds for the Nigerian sensation. Oh, and talking about young giants who could be making their way to the NBA soon, you may want to check out our video on the world's tallest teenager, Olivier Rioux, and how he may well be the next big thing in pro basketball. Also, don't forget to smash that subscribe icon for more exciting videos about your favorite NBA stars.